Good morning. I'm Judge Tammy Long Hayward. This is the State Court of Clayton County. This is the jail calendar for 304, an arraignment calendar for March 11th, 2025. I'm going to call the calendar. I'll start with the arraignment calendar. If the person is represented by counsel, their attorney will respond. If they are not represented by counsel, then we'll discuss with them their opportunity to have counsel appointed or whether they are hiring counsel. May I see the courtroom, please?
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Taylor. All right, first case on the arraignment calendar is Terrell Raymond Coleman.
Thank
Terrell
you.
Raymond.
Spoken with Mr. Coleman. Could you come up, please? And he's currently unrepresented, and he requested a court-appointed counsel.
Okay. All right, you all can send me an appointment order.
I will do so. Ms. Hagler, could you send me the, or Ms. Deputy Chief Ponder, could you send me the accusation and the recommendation on Mr. Coleman's case, please?
Yes, I have someone bring it down to you. Thank you.
And I haven't logged into Zoom on my computer, but I'll do that shortly so you can send text to me.
Nakira Danielle Lewis. Nakira Danielle Lewis.
And Your Honor, this case should have been non-pros. I did prepare an order. I'm not sure if you already signed it, but
I signed a bunch of stuff day before yesterday, so not sure if it was in that stack, but okay. So the case for Nakira Danielle Lewis, that case has been non-pros. If there is anyone here on that case, you're free to go at this time. The next case on the calendar is Jared Alexander Major. I thought Mr. Major is present by video. Mr. Edie is his attorney.
Yes, Your Honor, Miss Edie is here. Just pulled over somewhere safe, Your Honor. If I can, I just would like to pre-trial this one time, and I believe we should come with a resolution today.
All right, so I'll give you a breakout room with, I believe it's Ms. Hagler. This is Ms. Hagler's case,
Your Honor.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I can't keep the alphabet straight. Who got what? I'm trying. All right, so I'll give you a breakout room with Ms. Ponder.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Next case on the calendar is Lucius Gerard Maple. Lucius Gerard Maple.
How you doing, Judge?
Mr. Maple. All right. So, Mr. Maple, did you get your attorney on in gear or?
I spoke with his office. He was supposed to be here, but I'm calling him right now.
All right. This is Mr. Dark. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Terrell Dark.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Roland Joseph Nelson. Roland Joseph Nelson. I see someone who's listed as iPhone. If it's helpful if you can change your name to the first and last name, because iPhone, we get so many of those, I won't know who you are or how to help you. So if you're as iPhone 6 and in parentheses 6, please change your designation to your All right, I'm not sure what happened. I was talking and everybody was frozen. So it was me. The the case that I was on was Roland Joseph Nelson. I've called that gentleman several times. I do not see them on the calendar. Last call for Roland Joseph Nelson, benchmark bond forfeiture. Jasia Deneen Wilkes. Ms. Wilkes is present, represented by Lister Holton Dennis.
Your Honor, I have not spoken with Ms. Wilkes, but she is present online.
All right, so Ms. Wilkes,
Yes.
at the appropriate time, I'll give you a breakout room with your attorney.
Okay, thank you.
All right, just mute your device.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so that's the arraignment calendar. Let me go ahead and set up the breakout room for Mr. Edie and Ms. Ponder, and then Mr. Taylor and Ms. Wilkes, and then we'll see if we can move forward on that. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Should be getting your invitations.
Owen's handling the pre-trial intervention orientation online, but he's back as soon as that. Thank you, Judge. Ms. Hegler, or actually, this is probably Ms. Ponder. Ms. Wilkes will be providing me with a copy of her driver's license. She told me it's currently valid. And as soon as I receive that email from her, I will forward it to you.
I'll let Deputy Ponder know, and then I sent you a message in the chat.
I'll go take a look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Regarding the case with Mr. Coleman.
Yes, you should have the paperwork, I
I
believe.
did get the paperwork.
Okay.
I discussed the circumstances with Mr. Coleman, and based on just the nature of the family relationship, it's charged as battery family violence. However, the alleged victim in this case is a niece, not a direct relative, but an indirect relative, and they do not live in the same household. So I don't believe this rises to a family violence charge. If anything, at this particular point, I think it should be a battery if we should enter a plea today.
Okay, if you can just show me something, provide documentation showing that he does not live there, because the police report has them both at the same location, or something that's showing that at the time of the incident, he was not living at that residence, then I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Please. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Madam Clerk, this is Mr. Edie. I want to know if I can get set for a breakout room with Mr. Major to convey the offer.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Deputy Clerk, can I get back with Deputy Ponder one more time, pretty please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Can you put Miss Dearman back in the- Yeah.
Mr. Maple?
Yes, ma'am.
So a couple of questions, sir. Have
Yes,
you
ma'am.
paid Mr. Dark?
Yeah, yeah.
You're not in negotiations. You've actually
And-
paid him to show up.
Yeah, I paid him.
Okay, because this is a problem, because as soon as you paid him, he should have done an entry of appearance. You've been here at least 3 times, and he's
Yeah.
never shown up. And I have a problem with that. And I can't really compel him until he's done an entry of appearance. Otherwise, to us, you have no attorney. And this is an old case, so this needs to move.
I agree. I agree. Let me try to get in contact with his office.
All right, you got a number for him?
Yes, ma'am.
Give me that number.
Okay. It is 770
Mhm,
799
mhm.
8707. And would you like his office as well?
Yeah,
Okay. 770
mhm.
370 7101.
Okay.
That's
All right,
his
thank you.
legal assistant as well.
Okay.
Judge, Mr. Edie is requesting another breakout room with Mr. Major.
Okay.
Record your message and press pound or reach Target Dark. Please leave a message with your name, your number. I'll be sure to reach you soon.
This is Judge Tammy Long Hayward, State Court of Clayton County. Your client, Mr. Maple, has been before me at least 3 times contending that you're his attorney and that he's paid you to appear, but there is no appearance on the records. I'm going to offer him the opportunity to have appointed counsel if he wishes so that we can move this case. And then he can settle with you regarding the fee.
Judge, I just got a text message from his legal assistant saying that he took a leave of absence.
No.
Yeah, I don't.
What's the legal assistance number again?
That was 770-370-7101.
Is that the number she texted you from?
Yeah, that's the number he texted me from, his legal assistant, Mr. Lewis.
Good morning. Thank you for calling Dark and Dark. This is yours. Can I help you?
Sir, Mr. Dark is playing games with me and his client, and I'm a little tired of it. This is about the 3rd time Mr. Maple's been here, and every time he's represented that Mr. Dark represents him. And I asked the appropriate questions, as in, has he been fully paid to appear? The answer that I've gotten is yes. If that is the case, then Mr. Dark is derelict in his duty to file an appearance and to appear in my courtroom. And now Mr. Maple is being told by text that there's a leave of absence. I'm not recognizing a leave of absence. This is video court. Wherever he is in the world, he can sign on.
Hey, this is Roland Nelson. I'm here. I'm sorry I'm late.
Hold on, Mr. Nelson. Excuse me?
I understand.
Tell him, no. Tell him he signs on in the next 10 minutes or I'm reporting him to the bar for dereliction of duty. I'm sure it's in one of them bar rules. I'll find it.
Okay, so
No, okay, so tell him to sign on to my Zoom call. Thank you. All right, take care. All right, next, Mr. Roland Joseph Nelson is on. Listener Holt. Have y'all had an opportunity to speak to Mr. Nelson?
Yes, I'm here, man. I'm here.
All right. Okay, Rose's iPhone is not helpful, Mr. Nelson. I'm gonna change the name to your first and last name.
Oh, I didn't know it came up like that. Sorry about that.
All right, Mr. Taylor.
With Mr. Nelson, and Mr. Nelson is going to provide a copy of his driver's license, is my understanding. So we're just waiting.
All right.
You can get a copy of that to provide to the prosecutor.
Oh, let me show 1 second. They grabbed it.
Okay, so that's the case with Wilkes and Nelson. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, so we're just waiting on Mr. Dark to sign on. Mr. Coleman, is there an announcement on Coleman?
Your Honor, on this particular case, it's a question for the prosecutor whether this was a family violence incident or not. She's asked for information to demonstrate the defendant's address.
Okay, so y'all are still pre-trying the case?
We are.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
And also whether or not, if you can just confirm if the defendant and the victim ever lived together in the past. I need that information as well, Mr. Taylor.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
y'all do that. Mr. Edie, do you have an announcement on Mr. Major?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor, that would be a plea.
Okay, we ready?
Yes.
Ready, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Major, is he back on? There he
Yes.
is. Raise your right hand for me, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yes.
All right, you can put your hand down. You're before the court on case 2021 CR 06860 for Jared Alexander Major. You're represented by Mr. Khalil Edie, who's here with you on the call. You're charged with DUI less safe, count 1, driving under the influence, count 2, leaving the scene, count 3, and improper lane change, count 4. Mr. Edie, what does your client plead to the offenses before the court?
Yes, Your Honor, it'd be a guilty plea to the less safe, and then a NOLO. We'll request that you accept a NOLO for the leaving the scene and subordinate charges. That's part of it.
I'm sorry, the what now? That last part.
I believe it was one more charge with
Improper lane change?
yeah, so we ask that we can plead NOLO to the remaining charges.
Any objection from the state?
No objection for NOLO on leaving the scene, improper lane change, DUI. DUI will be guilty.
Guilty, yeah. So by entering a plea of guilty to DUI less safe, DUI merges, leaving the scene and improper lane change or NOLO pleas, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And if you are not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, Mr. Major?
Yes.
All right. Factual basis and recommendation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, on May the 3rd, 2020, officers conducted responded to Forest Park and State Route 85 in reference to a hit and run accident in which officers learned that the defendant allegedly left the scene and was located at the nearby gas station by a witness. Officers learned during the course of their investigation that the defendant's car struck another vehicle in the front of the victim's vehicle. After approaching the defendant, officers did detect an odor of alcohol coming from his person, and his eyes were red and glossy. Officers did conduct a standardized field sobriety evaluation and determined that he was in fact less safe to drive. The defendant did admit to consuming an 8-pack of Bud Light beer approximately 4 hours prior to the accident. Officers did read Georgia implied consent and requested for his blood. It came back that his BAC was a 0.192. Those are the facts of the case, Your Honor. The state's recommendation for count 1 is 12 months to serve, 24 hours credit for time served, balance probated, a $300 fine, 40 hours of community service to enroll and complete the risk reduction course, a substance abuse evaluation, any recommended treatment, no drugs or alcohol, and subject to random testing. That's for count 1. Count 2 would be dismissed. Count 3 is a $500 fine. Count 4 is a $100 fine, suspended.
Mr. Edie, anything on behalf of Mr. Major?
Yes, Your Honor. This case dates back to 2018. and I received this case in 2020. This is so I would like to say that Mr. Major has completed all the conditions already for probation, actually twice. He did it upon me hiring me back in 2020. I told him that everything at this point possibly had expired, and then he actually redid everything again. So at this point he has done 80 hours of community service, double risk reduction, double testings and everything of that nature. So I didn't ask this of Deputy Ponder, but I would just request it and ask that, Your Honor, upon him just paying the fines, if he can go on to non-reporting, being that he is completely done with everything. And another reason is because he has started a job as a flight attendant with Delta Airlines. Currently, right now, he's in the Bahamas as one of his stops. So he travels frequently as a flight attendant, and he's on a provisional lease, and then he's going to start full-time upon his comeback to the States. So we would just ask that don't kind of interfere with his work. Other than that, he has everything completed and is willing to pay his fine and fees today, which will have him completed with all of the terms of probation. So that's the only thing that we would ask.
Ms. Ponder?
Your Honor, I would just ask that the court, I will defer to the court. However, I would like to add that the defendant's BAC was high at the time. There was a victim involved. And so it's the state's position as far as like non-reporting, although he has gotten everything done, the state would be more comfortable that after maybe 6 months, or if he's consistent with clean screens, then the state doesn't have any objection.
Okay, I almost never, well, actually, I never do non-reporting, but this is what I'm willing to do. If we can verify that Mr. Major has done all of the conditions, the special conditions of probation, and can provide proof of having done all of those things, and can pay the fines and fees, then the court will go non-reporting, and then he may have to do periodic screens, but other than that, it'll be non-reporting.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I never did that, but I'm recognizing the state's position, but I also recognize that this is a 2018 case. I don't want to mess up a job that he now has in 2025. COVID did put us back, and this would have all been completed since you've been the attorney on the case since the beginning, Mr. Edie. And it's not like y'all didn't do anything proactively to get the case resolved. So recognizing that, do something I never do, I'm going to go ahead and try and make sure that Mr. Major doesn't lose his job. I recognize that there's a victim in this case. I understand how serious this case is. I always tell people that you don't have the right to have your issues affect someone else's life. And in this case, there was an accident, there was a victim, there was property damage, there was potential physical injury, but all of those things, Mr. Major, I don't have any indication that you've done anything similar since then.
Right.
And because of that, I'm going to, and because of you being proactive and taking the programs that you're supposed to do, I'm going to go ahead and give you the benefit of the doubt. So I'll make it non-reporting, with the exception of you can have periodic screens as designated by probation upon proof that you have paid the fines and fees and that you have completed each of the special conditions. Now, on count one, it's 12 months, 24 hours credit for time served. The balance will be probated for a fine in the amount of $300. I'm not sure how much that is with the DUI surcharges, but it's probably going to be closer to $500 or $600. 40 hours of community service, the risk reduction course, substance abuse evaluation, and any treatment they might order. No alcohol or illicit drugs during the course of your probation, and you are subject to random screens. A $500 fine on count three, which will be $737.50 with the surcharges. And on count four, it's $100 suspended fine. Counts 3 and 4 will run concurrent with count one. This case upon payment of the fines and fees and providing proof of having completed all of the other special conditions of probation, the case can be non-reporting with the exception of periodic random screens for alcohol or drugs.
Okay.
All right. All righty. That's it. Mr. Major, what I'm going to do is put you in a breakout room with Ms. James, who is our probation expert. Ms. James is going to get you signed up for probation. She's going to give you any information that you need for probation, and she's going to answer any questions that you have. Now, I'm looking on here. I don't see Ms. James. Am I missing her?
I'm here.
Oh, Ms. James, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Then for a moment, I thought everybody was frozen again. Lord help me.
Oh, and yeah, we will request the first DUI affidavit. I apologize.
That's fine. You can get that through the clerk's office.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can get that through the clerk's office. All right. So Miss James, I'm going to put you and Mr. Major in breakout room number 6. Mr. Major, once you've finished speaking with Miss James, then you do not have to come back to the main room, okay? And if you have any questions about what went on or what's going on, make sure you ask your probation officer or Miss James for anything that's specific to your situation. Ask Miss James today, and then subsequently, you know, if you meet with your probation officer for the first meeting, ask them until you show proof of having completed everything, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir. I wish you well on your job.
Thank you.
Hopefully you will enjoy it. My aunt was a flight attendant and retired from Delta, and she loved it. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. All right.
Mr. Major, give me a call when you finish.
Excuse me, Judge.
Yes.
Was count 2 merged or null prossed?
Well, Ms. Ponder announced null pros. I said merge, but I'm fine with the null pros if she is. So you can null pros.
That's fine.
Okay.
To null pros? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So, all right.
Yeah, that's all I have, that day excuse.
Yes, Mr. Edie, thank you.
No problem. You have a good morning. Thank you, Deputy Ponder.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, so we're just waiting for their pre-trial Coleman. We're waiting for the verifications for licensing on Nelson and Wilkes. And we'll move on to the jail calendar.
Your Honor, the defense does have a announcement on Coleman.
That's correct, Your Honor. On Mr. Coleman, the defense is requesting a 1-week continuance so that we can provide the documentation regarding his address, his residence at the time of the incident to the prosecution.
All right, Ms. Val, are we able to put him on for next week?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so he'll get a 1-week continuance. He'll be back here on Tuesday. I'm sorry.
Tuesday's the 18th.
18th.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. 10 a.m. See you then.
18th, correct, Your Honor?
Yes. All right. The jail calendar, are you all ready to at least go over the calendar?
State is ready, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Taylor?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. What was that request?
No, I was saying, are you ready to go over the jail calendar? You don't have to do the pleas right now. I just wanted to go over the.
We can go forward with the jail calendar.
Okay. All right. So Anthony Lamar Brooks.
Your Honor, that's a motion to set bond, a request to set bond. We could hear that after the other matters have been disposed.
All right. And he's maintaining his not guilty.
I need to speak with him. I believe he is, but I need to double check that.
Okay. Alicia Brooke Dearman.
Your Honor, that will be a guilty plea and acceptance of the state's offer on both cases.
All right. And Montrez Terea Duffy.
Need to have a conference with Mr. Duffy. I haven't had him in the booth yet.
Gonzalez Romero Hambrick.
Mr. Lynch has spoken to Mr. Hambrick. I believe his his general disposition is better this week. And I believe that's anticipated guilty or whatever plea that they've worked out with the state, either guilty or not law.
Okay. And the last case was another one for Mr. Hambrick. So I guess we'll do a global and get both of those wrapped in.
And it's probably best to bring him out first. Let me see if Mr. Lynch is finished
Okay.
with his BTI.
All right. That'll be fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did we call Elisa Dearman? Did you
I'm
skip
sorry,
that
what now?
one? Dearman, did you skip Dearman?
Thurman, I'm sorry, I didn't even see him. Hambrick. So, okay, so I picked up the calendar that was on my desk yesterday.
It's on
I
page
don't
2
have-
of the jail calendar.
I have Brooks, Dearman, Duffy, Hambrick,
Okay,
and
you picked it up.
Hambrick.
Okay, good. All righty.
What now? If you want to tell me who it is, I can put it on my calendar.
No, you called it. I was just trying to make sure I didn't hear you call the second case. You're good.
Oh,
Yeah, you're good.
yeah, she has 2 cases.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Can you bring out Mr. Hambrick and put
Mr. Lynch, let me know what order, what you need.
Judge, I'm gonna do Mr. Hambrick's plea, and then I believe the rest will be handled by Mr.
All
Taylor.
right. We can bring him out now?
I believe the deputy is gonna do that.
Okay. And he has 2 cases.
Yes, Your Honor. And I am forwarding an email to Ms. Hagler in regards to Nelson.
And Ms. Hagler, be on the lookout in your email for the driver's license for Ms. Wilkes.
Can you all just send it? Is it possible to send it via text? Or you have it via email?
Email.
Okay, thank you.
And the phone service is not that great in the courtroom.
No, it's fine, thanks.
Ready? Yes.
Hi, Mr. Hamrick, how are you?
Good.
Okay, good. Raise your right hand for me, sir.
Yes.
You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give will be true?
No. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, you can put your hand down. So you're before the court on 2025 CR 01406 Gonzalez Romero Hambrick for loitering or prowling. Mr. Lynch is your attorney and he's right next to you. Mr. Lynch, it's my understanding that your client is entering a plea of guilty.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, any concerns currently for his state of being?
Judge, I did speak to Mr. Hambrick this morning. He does understand the nature of the charges against him and the nature of entering a plea. I did learn, hold on a second. If you want to
Hold on just a second, Mr. Hambrick.
I did learn that he is currently taking medication in the jail and that he does have a safe place to go when he gets out of here.
Okay, good. All right, and the next case is 2025 CR 01544 criminal trespass, count 1, 4 counts of giving a false name, address, or date of birth.
And did we miss was there a shoplifting charge in it as well?
I just have criminal trespass and 4 counts of giving a false name, address, or date of birth.
Yes, I was mistaken. So my understanding is that he was going to enter a guilty plea to criminal trespass and giving false information, Judge.
Okay, so counts 1 and 2?
Yes, Judge. And I believe the state had agreed to null pros the rest of the giving false information.
That is correct. Yes.
All right, so Mr. Hambrick, Mr. Hambrick, you pay attention to me? By entering those guilty pleas to both cases, you give up the right to have a trial. You give up the right to have the state prove the case against you. You give up the right to be considered innocent. You give up the right to present evidence and testimony and call witnesses for yourself. You give up the right not to incriminate yourself. And if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or nolo could negatively affect your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Factual basis recommendation, please.
Hold on, wait.
Yes, Your Honor, in the case ending in 01406, on or about March 26th, Officer Rashad Clark observed the defendant walking back and forth in the front of 6714 Terra Boulevard, Jonesboro, Georgia, 30236, Clayton County. This is also known as the Chevron gas station. Officer Clark asked the defendant his reason for being on the property, and the defendant said that he was trying to find someone who could give him a cigarette. The defendant at that time had a black shopping bag in his hand. However, the defendant said that he did not buy anything from the store that he was currently at. At that time, Officer Clark went inside the business, met with the management, and watched the video cameras. After viewing the cameras, it did show the defendant walking to every customer, speaking with them. At that time, the Officer Clark did advise the defendant what he saw on video footage, and the defendant stated that he only asked the customers for cigarettes. At that time, it was determined that the defendant did not have any did not have any purpose of doing business on the property, and he was cited and arrested for loitering. Your Honor, the state's recommendation for this charge is 12 months to serve, 35 days, community time served, balance suspended, and the defendant is to stay away and to not return to the incident location. Again, 6714 Terra Boulevard, Jonesboro, Georgia, 30236, also known as the Chevron gas station.
Okay, you lived during the number of days. How many days?
I'm sorry, 12 months to serve, 35 days.
Okay, I'm sorry, it just didn't come through clear. All right, and on the next case, ending in, I'm sorry, 01544.
Yes, Your Honor. On or about December 24th of 2024, Officer Zachary Wendon did respond to the 93 Upper Riverdale Road, Southwest, Riverdale, Georgia, 30274, Clayton County. Doing his investigation, this is also known as the quick trip. Doing his investigation, it was determined that the defendant did commit the offense of criminal trespass, as the defendant was repeatedly told and repeatedly advised by employees at the location to depart the premises due to the defendant not utilizing the business. Also doing the officer's investigation, Officer Wendon, the defendant did commit the offense of providing false information to law enforcement, and that the defendant was asked for his name, and the defendant provided several false names, specifically Lamar Hambrick, David Shepard, Mike Willie, Willy, and Magic Johnson. Your Honor, those are the facts of the case. For count one, the state's recommendation is 12 months to serve, 90 days, balance suspended, no further violations of the law. The defendant is to stay away and to not return to the incident location, 93 Upper Riverdale Road, Southwest, Riverdale, Georgia, 30274, also known as the quick trip. And the defendant is to have no contact with the victim. Count two, a fine of $300 to be suspended. And the state is going to non-prof counts 3 through 5.
Okay, who's the victim on count one?
Give me 1 second, Your Honor. Let me see what the name is. Xavier, X-A-V as in Victor, I-E-R, middle name Daryl, D as in David, A-R-R-E-L, last name Winfrey, W-I-N-F-R-E-Y. He is the manager of the Quick Trip gas station.
All right, Mr. Lynch.
Judge, I would ask that you accept the state's recommendation. I would ask that the cases be run concurrent. I believe that was the intent of the recommendation. And I would just ask that you accept the
Okay, the 90 days. So he hasn't served the 90 days, but
he has not. So the state has no objections to the defendant getting presence day of lockup. His 90th day will be March 25th.
Okay.
I believe that's accurate.
All right, so Mr. Hambrick, I'm going to accept your plea of guilty on case 2025 CR 01406, 12 months to serve 35 days, credit for time served. Balance will be suspended as long as you do not go back to the Chevron at 6714 Terra Boulevard, Jonesboro, Georgia, Clayton County. On case 2025 CR 01544, I'll accept your pleas of guilty to counts 1 and 2. Counts 3, 4, and 5 will be no pause. I'll sentence you to 12 months, serve 90 days. Credits into lockup. Balance will be suspended, so you have no new, as long as you have no new violations of the laws of the state of Georgia, that you do not go back to 93 Upper Riverdale Road, Riverdale, Georgia, Clayton County, the Quick Trip, and you do not have any contact with Xavier Daryl Winfrey. On count 2, which will run concurrent with count 1, the fine is $300, but it will be suspended. And case 2025 CR 01544 will run concurrent with 2025 CR 01406. All right, did I do that right, Mr. Lynch, Ms. Hagler?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Hambrick, you're free to go, sir. Go be with your people, all right? Yeah. Don't go back to these gas stations, okay? Yeah. All right, take care, sir. All right, let me know who y'all are ready on.
Just come up here with me.
Attorney Taylor, who is this?
This is Montrez Duffy.
Duffy, okay. Thank you. And is this negotiated or non-negotiated?
Yeah, negotiated. This is balance suspended, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, this is Mr. Duffy, Montrez Terrain Duffy. Raise your right hand for me, sir. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. You're before the court on 2025 CR 02064 for pedestrian on the roadway and obstruction of an officer. Mr. Taz Taylor is with you. He's your attorney from the law firm of Lister, Holt, and Dennis. Mr. Taylor, what is your client plea to the offenses before the court?
Your Honor, my client pleads guilty to both pedestrian on roadway and obstruction.
All right, by entering a plea of guilty to counts 1 and 2, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself, and if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Factual basis and recommendation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. On or about February the 20th of 2025, Officer Crystal Crystal Richards was dispatched to a residential burglary. While en route, she activated her emergency lights and sirens while driving southbound on Terra Boulevard and Southside Commercial Parkway, Clayton County. The defendant ran into the middle of the roadway on Terra Boulevard, southbound, waving Officer Richards down as she was driving her county-issued vehicle, heading towards that residential burglary. When she started to pull over, the defendant intentionally threw his entire body on the hood of her patrol vehicle. Officer Richards yelled for the defendant to get off the vehicle. The defendant refused to get off the vehicle, yelling, in quotes, "You know what they did to me," in quotes. After yelling for the defendant to get off the defendant remained on the vehicle. While trying to apprehend the defendant pulled away from Officer Richards and ran away, resulting in Officer Richards having to run across traffic to the northbound side to get to the defendant. At that time, the defendant was eventually captured and placed under arrest. Your Honor, for count 1, 12 months to serve, 15 days, community time served. Count 2, a fine of $300 to be suspended.
All right, Mr. Taylor?
Yes, Your Honor. That's the agreed upon recommendation. We asked the court to accept it. I believe that was balance suspended.
All right, do we have any concerns?
I've spoken to my client today, this morning, and he is in good shape.
Mr. Duffy, the reason I ask is because Terra Boulevard is a deadly roadway. I've had cases where, like civil suits, where one person got hit 3 times. 3 cars hit that person before they even knew what was going on. Especially at night, people think for some reason we have this perception that because cars have headlights that they see us if they're driving at night. But I think anybody can attest to the fact that they've been driving at night, headlights fully on, but there'll be somebody on the side of the road or somebody entering the roadway that we don't see until the last minute. It's because you're not wearing reflective clothing. The headlights reflect off the roadway because there are special chemicals in the lines on the road that alert us to the light reflecting off of it. But if somebody's coming into the roadway and they just expect to be seen because we have headlights, that is a hit or miss proposition. And so running into the roadway on Terra Boulevard, day or night, is not a safe thing to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? So if you don't have a cell phone and you need to call 911 to get the police to respond to you, go into any store, ask them to call. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Duffy. So count 1, 12 months, 15 days, credit for time served, balance suspended, as long as you have no new violations of the law. And count 2 will run concurrent with count 1, a $300 fine, also suspended, credit for time served. All right, you can go back to the sheriff's office.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank
Be
you.
safe. All right, so on the jail calendar, we still have Brooks and Dearman. And also, we're still waiting on Maple for Mr. Dark to appear.
And I also have an update on Nelson and is it Wilkes?
Wilkes.
Okay, go ahead.
So the state was able to verify that Mr. Nelson and Ms. Wilkes, their license are valid. So for Mr. Nelson, the state is moving forward on count 3 and 4. On Ms. Wilkes, the state is moving on count 3, moving forward on count 3.
Ms. Ponder, on
Yes.
Ms. Wilkes, we intend to enter a no-low plea to count 3.
Okay. Okay. And I'm ready when the court is ready on that case.
I'm ready now. All right, Ms. Wilkes.
She also has a bench warrant, so we'll prepare a bench warrant recall.
All right.
Thank you.
Ms. Wilkes, turn your camera on.
It's on.
All I see is a black screen. There you
Oh,
go. All right. So, Ms. Wilkes, you're before the court on State of Georgia versus Deja Deneen Wilkes, 2022 CR 00180. Your attorney, Mr. Taz Taylor, is with you at the podium. I mean, it was with you on the video. Raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
yes, ma'am.
All right, you can put your hand down. So, Ms. Wilkes, you're before the court on counts 1, license driving on a suspended or revoked license. Count 2, seatbelt violation. The state has agreed to no pros those 2, and they're proceeding on stop or yield sign violation. Your attorney has indicated you're entering a plea of no-low to that. By
Yes,
doing so, ma'am, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And if you are not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. You understand all of these things?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
All right, factual basis and recommendation, please.
I'm sorry. What did you say, ma'am? I'm sorry.
That's
Sorry,
what Ms.
I was muted. On January the 11th, 2021, officers conducted a traffic stop on Rock Creek Drive in Ashbury Lane, located here in Clayton County, Georgia. Officers observed the defendant run the stop sign, and when asked, she indicated she did not have her license. Those are the facts of the case, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is as follows. The state is moving to dismiss count 1 and 2. Count 3 is a $100 fine suspended.
All right, so the court is going to accept the plea, the no pros of counts 1 and 2. I'll accept the no-low plea on count 3. It's a $100 fine. That fine will be suspended. And Ms. Wilkes, you're free to go at this time. Just make sure that your license stays in good stead, okay?
Yes, ma'am. And for as the $100 fine, how do I go about paying that?
It's suspended. You don't owe it.
Oh, okay, okay, great.
As long as you don't have any new violations of the law within the 12 months, you're good.
Okay,
So
yes,
the
ma'am.
case is closed, Ms. Wilkes, and there's no payment. If you have any questions, just call me after court, okay? Or send me an
Yes,
email.
yes, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
All right,
And
thank
you're
you.
free to go.
Yeah,
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Your Honor, if
Bye.
you can go back to the jail calendar and bring out Ms. Dearman.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
She got a thick stripe.
Your Honor, this is Ms. Dearman. Ms. Dearman is also listed in the jail registry as Ms. Watts.
Okay, do we have a Ms. Watts on a calendar somewhere?
Not on this calendar. we may have resolved a previous case with Ms. Dearman Watts
Okay.
in January.
All right, Ms. Dearman, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true. All right, you can put your hands down. You're before the court on 2023 CR 01220 Alicia Brooke Dearman for theft by shoplifting. Your attorney indicated you're entering a plea of guilty to this count on the case ending in 01220. You also have 2023 CR 01222 theft by shoplifting. You're entering a plea of guilty. By entering these pleas of guilty to these cases, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And if you are not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, ma'am? All right. Factual basis of recommendation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. On or about January 20th of 2022, Officer T as in tree, last name Pho, PHO, of the City of Marlboro Police Department responded to asset protection of Walmart located at 6065 Jonesboro Road, Mar, Georgia, 30260, Clayton County, in reference to a theft by shoplifting. Upon his arrival, Officer Pho met with Kevin Copeland, the asset protection of Walmart, who advised that he observed the defendant in the cosmetic department. Mr. Copeland advised that he maintained surveillance where the defendant selected several items and concealed them into her personal purse. Mr. Copeland advised that the defendant went to the grocery department next, where she also selected and then concealed merchandise into a Walmart bag. Mr. Copeland advised that the defendant began to walk to the front of the store by the grocery exit door, passed all points of sale, and attempted to exit Walmart without paying for the items. At that time, the defendant was arrested and detained. The grand total amount of the items that were taken was $386.97, and Walmart did indicate they wanted to prosecute. Your Honor, the state's recommendation is 12 months to serve, 90 days, balance suspended. The state has no objection to the defendant getting credit since the day of lockup. She has been in custody since March the 2nd. The defendant is to stay away and to not return to the incident location. Again, that is 6065 Jonesboro Road, Morrow, Georgia, 30260, also known as the Walmart. In regards to a case ending in 01222, on or about February the 7th of 2022, Officer C. Glover of the City of Marlboro Police Department responded to 6065 Jonesboro Road, Morrow, Georgia, 30260, also known as the Walmart, in reference to a shoplifting in progress. Upon his arrival, he met with the Walmart Asset Protection Specialist, again, Mr. Kevin Copeland, who advised that he observed the defendant on CCTV in the jury department, selecting various items and concealing them in a personal bag in a Walmart shopping cart. Mr. Copeland advised that the defendant did headed for the store through the general merchandise exit. Mr. Copeland advised that the defendant did pass all points of sale, exiting the store with the merchandise in her hand. At that time, the defendant was detained and brought back to the LPS Office of Processing. The total value of the items that were taken valued at $102.08. And again, Walmart did indicate that they wanted to prosecute. Your Honor, the state's recommendation is 12 months to serve, 90 days, balance suspended. The defendant the state does not have injunction to the defendant receiving credits as a date of lockup. Again, the defendant has been in custody since March the 2nd, and the defendant is to stay away and to not return to that same incident location, 6065 Jonesboro Road, Morrow, Georgia, 30260, also known as the Walmart. And this is to run concurrent with case ending in 01220.
Mrs. Taylor? Mr. Taylor?
Your Honor, nothing further from the defense. We just ask that you accept the sentence as negotiated.
Right. So I'm going to, Ms. Dearman, accept your plea guilty on case 202-CR-01220, and accept your plea guilty on case 203-CR-01222. I'll sentence you on each of these cases to run concurrent to 12 months to serve 90 days. Balance will be suspended as long as you have no new violations of the laws of the state of Georgia, and you're not to go back to any Walmart in Clayton County. So no Walmarts in Clayton County. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. Ms. Dearman, I'm not sure what it's going to take to get you on the right path, ma'am, but only you know that. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You go back with the sheriff's office.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, so Anthony Brooks is the last jail case. Mr. Maple is the last arraignment case. Mr. Maple, have you heard from your attorney?
No, ma'am. I just got word that he was Mr. Lewis was unable to get in contact with him either.
Okay, I'll be reporting him to the bar then. What you and he do together, I don't care about. But upon you paying him, that was his responsibility to then do an entry of appearance and to begin doing something on your case.
And Your Honor, we also have Mr. Nelson on the calendar too, unless that case was resolved.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're going to do a plea on Nelson. Okay, are we ready on Brooks?
The state is ready, Your Honor.
All right. So Mr. Brooks is coming out. Lynch.
And after Mr. Brooks, we are ready to go forward with the plea on Mr. Nelson as well.
Ms. Val, can you look up how many times Mr. Maple has been on my calendar with no appearance from an attorney?
Right. Okay. Do you want to hold?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I do apologize. So Mr. Brooks, I believe, is on for a motion. Mr. Taylor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
We should go ahead and do Mr. Nelson's plea.
Okay, Mr.
State is
Nelson.
ready on Nelson as well.
All right, Mr. Roland Nelson, let me see you, please. All right,
yeah.
raise your hand for me, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can put your hand down, sir. You're before the court on 2022-CR-00171, Roland Joseph Nelson. Mr. Nelson, you're represented by Mr. Lynch, and you're before the court for driving on a suspended or revoked license, count 1, no license, count 2, and 2 counts of giving a false name, address, or date of birth, counts 3 and 4. Counts 1 and 2 will be crossed per the motion for the state and the agreement between the parties. And on counts 3 and 4, what is your client plead to the offenses before the court, Mr. Lynch?
Judge, she pleads nolo contendere.
All right, by entering a plea of nolo to counts 3 and 4, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And if you are not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, Mr. Nelson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Bless you, Mr. Lynch. Factual basis, Ms. Onder.
Yes, Your Honor. On October the 21st, 2021, officers were conducting a road safety check in the area of LaBelle Street and Commons Way, located here in Clayton County, Georgia. Officers made contact with the defendant, later identified as Roland Nelson. However, Mr. Nelson provided officers the name of Zuri, Z-U-R-I Nelson, with the date of birth of 12/16/1984. Officers learned in the course of their investigation that the defendant's name was Roland Nelson, with the date of birth of 8/18/1986. Those are the facts of the case, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is as follows. For count one, the state is moving, I'm sorry, wrong place. For count one, the state is moving to dismiss. Count two, the state is dismissing. Count three is a $100 fine suspended, and count four is a $100 fine suspended.
Right. Mr. Nelson, who's Zori?
That's my brother, my older
Okay,
brother.
so Mr. Nelson, everybody gets all upset when they see cases where they believe that the justice system and the police have wronged somebody. But I want you to go with me down this road. Imagine your brother is driving down the street and he gets pulled over. And when he gets pulled over, they say, "Hey, sir, we got a warrant for your arrest." And he gives his ID, and the ID says Zuri, and he knows he hasn't done anything to get these particular tickets, but they're pulling him over for a warrant that is in his name. So at this point, he's right and the police are right because they got the information on their computers. What do you think? Who do you think wins that? Like when he's protesting, "I don't have these tickets, I don't know what you're talking about," and the police are saying it's right here in our computer, who do you think wins that?
The police, of course.
So when they got your brother face down on the cement, and he's being dragged to jail, and neither party is wrong at this point.
Correct.
You're the person who put your brother in this situation. What I hate is the fact that you be the first person running to Ben Crump or standing on the steps of the courthouse talking about how they wronged your brother, but you put him in that situation.
Correct.
And folk will come to court and say, "Oh no, I love my brother," but you're willing to throw him under the bus so that he has a contact with the police that's negative because you're not man enough to stand up for what you did.
That is correct, Your Honor. At the time I was in a different situation and a different
I don't care.
I was at a different mind frame of how I was trying to get out of the situation, and I made a horrible mistake of even doing that at that time. A lot has changed since then, but at that time I take full responsibility for that situation, that I did do that to my brother, and both of us have also talked about it and squashed any stipulations or beef that we might have had from me doing that at that time.
Just tell you, when I first started on magistrate court, I was in magistrate court, and we had a jail hearing, and there was a guy who came out, and he and his brother, I kid you not, they looked like they could have been twins. There was like 3 or 4 years between, difference. But one guy was jail all the way. He had one of the longest criminal records I had seen. Other guy had gone and gotten an MBA and had $100,000 a year job, which he was about to lose because his brother kept giving his name for foolishness.
Correct.
So there's all kinds of ramifications.
You're
and
correct.
I don't know how you go back and correct your brother's record. But I just want you to be mindful that it's more than I'm just trying to, I'm trying to get them off me right now.
Correct.
All right.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I'm finished preaching. Counts 3 and 4 is $100 fine suspended. You're free to go at this time.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. All right. Last case on the jail calendar is Anthony Brooks. Last case on we're still waiting on Maple. So I think we're just gonna, Mr. Maple, you told me you've paid your attorney. I get that, but I'm gonna give you the opportunity, if you wish to have court-appointed counsel. They are here and they can talk to you about your case. Otherwise, sir, we're gonna have to do something because we're at the drop dead point. I'm not gonna keep continuing this arraignment because your attorney can't make the court. So you need to choose another attorney who will be here at the next court date, which will be next week. Or you need to proceed without an attorney or get court appointed counsel. So those are your three options. I have your like you can hire whoever you want, but if they don't show up to court and you've paid them and I can't compel them to come to court, then we need to move forward.
I agree.
Okay, so that's the decision you need to make. And I also advise you that the bar has fee arbitration. If you want your money back and he's holding it, there's a section of the State Bar of Georgia that deals with how to help assist you with that.
Okay.
All right. All right. We anything else at this time, Mr. Lynch?
Nothing from us, John. My understanding is Mr. Maple going to be continued to next week, and then at that point,
it's up to him, Mr. Maple. If you want to speak to Mr. Lynch or Mr. Taylor, they're here today. If you do not, I'm going to continue you to next week. But next week is the drop dead, and we're going forward on whatever.
I'll speak with them.
Okay. All right. So I'll put you in a breakout room with Mr. Lynch and Mr. I'm gonna just put you in a breakout room with them. Okay.
courtroom's out.
Okay.
All right. All right. Breakout room number 1, the courtroom, and Mr. Maple. We'll be back.
All right. Thank you. Your Honor, I do have a bit of an update for Mr. Maple.
All right, I'm good. Go ahead.
So Judge, I did speak to Mr. Maple, and I think the conclusion we came to is that he wants this case to be continued 1 week for him to just try to get an understanding of what's going on with his attorney. But if he doesn't get a satisfactory answer to that, then he wants the court to appoint us next week, and we would enter a not guilty plea at next week and go from there if that satisfies the court.
I'm fine with it. All right. We'll see you next week. Mr. Maple, Mr. Dark needs to show up. He's playing with me at this point. I'm not doing this. This case has been on the calendar for too long. If you hired him, he needs to do his job. If he can't do the job, then he needs to go.
I understand. I agree.
All right. Thank you. Because
Thank you.
filing a leave of absence at the last minute, that's not even the rules don't even allow that. He knows better. Or he should. All right,
Judge,
thank you.
just to clarify, he's going to be continued to next Tuesday's jail
Yes.
calendar? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.